Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, Christos, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks.
Yes. So there was a time you shared your assignments, you shared your screen here, and with what I saw, it seems you have been doing HTML for a long time, right?
Uh, I know, as I said, I know the basics of this language and CSS and some JavaScript. Yes.
So do you use any platform to learn, like Free Code Camp, W3 Schools, or
Yes,
aside?
yes, I have tried Free Code Camp, Frontend Mentor, uh, Udemy. I have taken some courses on Udemy,
Really?
etc. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. But do you have any projects so far that you have done, like just small something that you have
Yes,
done, just to?
I have a GitHub account and I have some projects. Yes, for personal use. Not I'm not I'm not working for a company or I'm not a freelancer. It's just for personal use. Yes.
All right. So do you mind sharing me your GitHub username on Slack? Just DM me your GitHub username.
Okay. Okay.
I'd like to
I
check
will.
out your
I
work.
will. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, well
Thank
done.
you.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I would have loved to speak to every other person one-on-one, but to save time, I think we'll just start off. Then probably some other time I'll get to have one-on-one chats with every other person. Yes, Nafisa, share. In fact, if you have a GitHub account, share your username to me, personal, please, not on the Slack channel. Send it to my Slack. Yeah, just inbox me the username on Slack. Probably the username or the whole link to your GitHub profile. All right, so let's get started. Good evening, everyone, again, and welcome to today's class. And yeah, before we proceed, I think Alex is here, the manager. So if you like to say something before we start the class, Alex, please go ahead. The mic is yours. All right. I think we'll just start. Probably we'll hear from Alex sometime in the class. Okay. Let me share my screen. Give me a minute. Please indicate if you can see my screen. Right. Okay. So in our last class, we talked about extensively, we talked about events, right? Using events to yeah, so we talked about events. We also talked about, we also talked about arrow functions. I mean, arrow functions and the normal function is the same thing. There is no particular way, there is no compulsory way you must write your functions. It's either you write it as an arrow function, which is this, or you write it as the one with the function keyword. Anyone serves, right? As far as you initiated with constant and then gave it the name of the function. So that's for arrow function. We talked about when to use inner HTML and inner text, right? And also using append shout, right? So we did some practicals where, let me go to that form. Yeah, I mean, if you remember this, I actually made a mistake here. Nobody corrected me in the last class. Wow. So this input is supposed to be age. The label is supposed to be age, not email address. So I was just reviewing the last class and I saw that our email address was here all through. Skipped my mind, it's not intentional. So let me just change it now. So it should be age. Yeah, so this is what we expected to see, age, right? And then, okay. So yeah, and we did the parts where when you enter your informations and message, when you click on submit, you should add the particular item to the table. And we did that, we achieved that using append child. And if you know, you can only use append, there's prepend actually. They both add a element to the body. They just append adds at the end, like you're appending at the end of the children, right? So at the end of the children, add another child. At the end of the children, add another child. But prepend that's PR then pend. Prepend just does adding before the first child, right? So it's just going to keep updating the first child. So yes, just doing opposite things here, but they are both adding child elements to that particular parent element. So yeah, and yeah, I think this is where we stopped in the last class. But I quickly brushed up a loop, how to declare loop, the conditions, and all the expressions, right? Where did I talk about it here? The expression 1, 2, 3. Initialization, the condition, and then the incrementation or decrementation, depending whichever one you want to use, or the scenario applying this on. And after the last class, I didn't give any assignments. That was intentional. I wanted us to go back, recollect on what we have done so far. We have done a lot of things so far. And this is actually the 5th week. So this is the last class for the 5th week, right? So in the last 5 weeks, we should be able to, you know, when I ask anybody a question on one of the things we have done, the person should be able to like give me a detailed definition of, okay, this is the topic, this is what we discussed, this is how to apply it, this is the use case, and this is when not to use this, right? So I believe by now we should all get familiar with all those areas. And I also urge us that by now you should be able to build a, probably not a full-blown website, but if you can, that is, I mean, if you started with us, if the first week of this program was when you started HTML and CSS for the first time, by now you should be able to build, like, just if you see any design on front-end mentor, you should just be able to code something out, right? Then you now gradually transition to building a full page layout, okay? So, but you will not be able to, know all these things if you don't practice. So that's why I share that front-end mentor link, so that we can go on and about our respective leisure times and try designing something out of the ordinary, right? So, and sometime in this class, I'm going to be picking a particular design. I'll code it out, and we are just going to see the approach, my use case, what I think of before I start coding, and how I approach a particular design. So we'll be doing that also sometime today. Then I think we'll just jump into today's class. So in our last class, we talked about the last topic we are discussing was loop. And we said that we have different loops, right? There is for loop, which is the one we already did, for in loop, for off loop, while, and do I. And also told us to, aside the loop part, I also told us to check out all these array methods, right? The map, the filter, and every other thing here. There's a lot of them aside these ones, right? So if you were able to check these ones out, and if you checked every other methods that we have available, it's not compulsory you're going to know everything at once, right? But just know a few, then you gradually transition to every other methods that comes with an array. But these two, this map and filter, you this map and filter and this push, you probably, or if not most of the times, whenever you're using an array, you're going to be using these methods, right? So we'll get to it, these array methods, when we are done with the loops. All right, so give me a minute. Okay, so we talked about loop. We did the for loop, right? And this is how to write the for loop expression. And when do you use loop? When you use loop is when you want to run a particular code for a number of times, right? Just the same code, the same expression. You want to run this particular expression for a number of time before you start. Yeah, for a number of time, right? Before the code stops, right? So, and we did. Let me open my log console, and we did. I'll zoom in. I believe you can see my log, and we did this. Let I be this, and then this is the initiation, the initialization, and the second part is the condition. The condition is as far as I is less than or equals to 5. And the third part is incrementation and decrementation, which is, for this case, we are doing I++. But let me take this 3 back to 0. Okay, so I'm expected to see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up till 5. Why? Because I set the equals to. So I'm telling the condition that keep running till I is equals to or less than 5. Okay, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now let's apply this on a more other approaches that we can find it. Okay, so let's say we have, how can I put this? Let's say we have a, okay, let's say we have a constant, and this constant says text. Okay, let's say text is equals to, okay, hello world. All right, and we're now going to write a statement for, well, let me just finish this up. Now you can see that my condition changed. Open and close my expression block. So text is hello world, right? And you know you can change the length. You can check the length of a particular text. So you don't only use length on arrays. You can also use length on a string. Okay. So when I do text.length, I'm going to see the number of characters inside this particular string. Well, let me just do it first. CLG, that's console log text.length. Yeah, this is it here, 11. So it's telling me that I have 11 characters inside this hello world. Let's count it and see. H is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The spacebar is also part of it. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So you can also listen to the length of a particular string, not only for arrays. So for, yeah, let I equals to 0. I is less than text.length. So text.length is 11 here. So I'm listening to the length of this particular text, right? And for every time, I'm adding 1 to I. Every time I'm adding 1 to I. And this expression is going to continue running until I is less than, as far as I is less than the length of this text, continue running. But whenever it gets up to more than this condition, it will stop. So let me just do the basic console first. Let me just console log text. Obviously, I'm going to get hello world 11 times, right? Why is it 11 times? Because this code is running 11 times. It's listening to the length. So now let's do something else. What if I want to listen to select a particular index? I want to select a particular part in this text. Remember, you can do the same thing you do on arrays here. Square bracket, then listen to I. I is this index. You can catch this I from here. If we console log only I self, yeah, we did it here already. Executed, we console log I was giving us 0 to 5. So now when we check, we're going to see hello world splitted into 11 places. So we'll check now, you're going to see HE, L is 2. Obviously, that's LL. Then, oh, we have that space bar. It accounts for it too. Then W up onto D. So what if I want to do something? I want to, like, for every time this code is running, do something to this text, right? Like change this text entirely. Let's say I want to revert this text. If I change this plus plus to minus minus, let's see, plus plus to minus minus, this will just become negative. But let's see actually. Wait, this will just turn negative. Let me console log I and see. What is happening? My code is not working. Yeah, obviously this might be crashing it. Let's see. Remove. Okay, what's happening? All right, I have to restart this server. Look, can you guys see my screen?
No.
I'm having issue with network. All right, give me a minute. My network is a little bit frozen. If you can hear me, actually. Can you see my screen now? Or can you hear me, actually? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Oh,
see your screen.
great. Sorry about that. Okay, so where was I? I think the system actually froze. That was what happened. I did some ugly implementation. Where is this guy coming from now? Okay, so let me just console log. No, don't do this minus minus again now. Plus plus. Okay. Let me see if this thing still works. I'm just getting error everywhere. Oh, I'm not in contact. Oh, okay. Yeah. We're back. All right. So for me to go back, let's say I want to go from, now it is going from H to D, right? It's going from H to D. If you can check on the console, we have H all the way to D. What if I want to start from D all the way to H, like reverse it, right? Like from D then to H. This implementation is going to change. Remember that H is, the index of H is 0, right? If you are selecting the particular first character or first item in an array or string, if you want to select by index, the index is 0, okay? And if we're going to write this particular for loop, we're no more going to start from 0. We need to start from the very last index, okay? And to get this very last index is going to be the length of this particular item minus 1. Now, I'll tell you why. Excuse. If I have this array here, array of numbers, CLG, numbers. Yes, okay, we have numbers here. Now you can see when I expand this array, you can see that each of them has the key of their index, right? Even if it's not a number, even if it's in any other data type, string or anything, you still have the keys as their index. So you can see that the first one, the first item, the index is 0, and the last item, the index is 9. So if you want to automatically get the last index of a particular, let's say you don't know how many items are inside this array, okay, but you want to get the index of the last item, how are you going to do it? Since you have the length property, you can get the length, right? So you're going to get the length will give us 10. And to get the last index, I'm just going to do -1. Okay, so once you do get the length of the array, then do -1, like apply -1 to that length, you should be able to get the index of the last item. Let's say you don't know it. This one, we know that it's 10. Obviously, the last index is going to be 9. But let's say you don't know it. You're working with a database that we cannot predict the amount of items in the array or in that table. So this is how to like get it. Now, when I say numbers dot length minus, okay, let me just do dot length first. Dot length will give us 10, right? Get back to this. Dot length will give us 10. But if we want to get the index of the last item, you're just going to apply -1 to give you 9. Obviously, so 9 is the last index. Now, if I want to select the last index, I'm going to say this: numbers, open and close a square bracket, numbers dot length -1. This space here is the index, right? This space we have here, that square bracket space is the index space, but we are calculating for the last index, so we just did this calculation, exactly what we did here. Instead of writing 0, 1, 2, 3, or 9, we just did the calculation there. Okay, so now let's do it here and see what we have. Numbers dot length, open and close. So we're going to do numbers dot length -1. Sorry, it's not going to, here it's not going to be dot length, sorry. We're just getting the numbers array, and then we're getting the index of the last item. So this is supposed to log out the last item, which is 10. When I go back, I'm going to get 10. What if I change this 10 here to a string? Let's say apple. What will I get? If I go back, I'm going to get apple. So why I did this is because I want to use that here. So instead of saying 0, instead of setting I to 0, I am going to set I to text.length. I want to start from the last item, then down. But then it's an index, so it's not going to just be the length entirely. It's going to be the index of the last item, which is -1. So I'm listening to this particular test here. I'm getting the index of the last item. So I'm saying let I equals to text.length -1, anything it is, right? Then here, I am going to say as far as I is greater than or equals to, here is no more going to be that length, is going to be 0. You see, I'm trying to reverse this whole loop. I want it to start from higher and then down to 0. So the condition is now checking that as far as our index is greater or equals to 0, continue running. But whenever it is up to 0, stop. Now, instead of doing plus plus here, I'm going to do minus minus because I'm starting from, I'm doing it in a separate order from the highest down to the lowest. Now it's going to be minus minus. If I now console log I, let's see what we get. I should get, I think, from 10 down to 0. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Wait, remove this apple here. Console comment out this. Yeah, I should get 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now to see it in action fully, let me just console log it out with the text. So I'm just getting the index of that particular item. Now it's going to start from D down to H. Exactly. D, L, R, O, W, then that space O, L, L, E, H. So you can use the for loop to actually reset the position of that string. There's a shorter way to do this actually, but I'm just telling you the power, I'm just showing you the power of loop, using loop. There's a better way to just reverse it than doing all this. So what are we now going to do? Now, instead of saying const, because with const, we cannot change this value anymore, right? With const, we cannot change the value. So let's say, oh, okay, let me create another text. But this one is going to be let, all right? Reverse, let's say reversed, yeah, just reversed text, okay? Reverse text is going to be equals to an empty string. Now, in my for loop, I want to reverse this hello world and set it to a text. I want to reverse and set it to this second variable that I created. So instead of having hello world in reverse text, I'm going to say DLO, yeah, just backwards. Now to do that, I'm going to say reverse text. Remember concatenation, right? You can still use plus in concatenation. It's going to be reversed. I'm picking whatever is in reverse text. Now, if I say reverse text should be, let me just do something. If I say reverse text should be I, let's say reverse text equals to I. Okay. If I console, let's say after this loop, I want to console log what is the remaining of or the results in reverse text. Now, if I save, you see that I will just be 0. Why? Why didn't I have other values? I mean, I'm looping, right? Why don't I have validity? Why am I only having 0? It's because I am updating, I'm resetting this I every time this loop runs. This loop is running for the entirety length of this text, which is 11. So it's running for 11 times. And every time in that 11th count, right, it is changing the index from 0, from whatever it is to the new one. It's just resetting it equals to equals to equals to equals to. So I'm not accounting for what was there before as a reverse text. I'm just resetting it. This is just like what inner HTML and inner text does. I'm just resetting. I'm not like listening to what was already existing inside there. I'm just updating everything entirely. Now, for me to like make it show, right, I need to say, let me say, reverse text is going to be whatever was in reverse text currently plus I. Let me just do this first. Whatever is in reverse text currently plus I. So for the first time it's going to run, reverse text is empty, right? So it's going to be empty string plus I. And currently, let's say our I is 10. So it's going to be empty string plus I, which is 10 as a string. Remember, we are doing concatenation. Whenever you're adding between a string and a number, it's just merging it as a string entirely, right? So we now have 10. Now, when it's running for the 9th time, it's just going to listen to what is now there. Remember, there is now 10 there. So it's now that reverse text is now 10 plus I. It's not adding mathematically, don't forget that. It is a string, it's concatenating. So we now have 10, then after 10 we have 9. So when I console log this, my reverse text should just be 10, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, just counting down. Now when I check exactly, you can see it is now 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then 0. But this is not what I want to do, right? I want to like change this, reverse this word, this hello world. Now what will I do? I will listen to text index of I, right? So what was there before? If it's an empty string, check the index of this text. If it is D, add it there. If it is L, the next one, add it there, just like that. So when I now console log, I'm going to see my reversed hello world. I believe we understood this, right? Can see that my hello world is now reversed. Instead of the normal hello world starting from H, it's now starting from the last letter, which is D, and then running it back. So yeah, there are other use cases that we can actually apply. Let's see. Let me give this one. Let me say this one is reversing. Reversing with loop. You can actually not only do this for, you can not only use it for strings, you can also use it for an array. Let me just make a quick example with an array. Const fruits. Let me say I have fruits equals to, yeah, this is fine. Apple, banana, orange, yeah. And I want to reverse this array. Instead of starting from apple, banana, this, it should start from pineapple down to apple. I will just use the same expression that I did here. So I'll say for let's I equals to, instead of saying 0, I don't want this to start from 0. I want it to start from the last item and count down. So I will listen to fruits dot length. Where is dot length? Okay, what is happening? Yeah, dot length -1. Okay, and then I'll end this expression with semicolon. Then I'll now listen to I again. I, when as far as I is greater than or equals to 0. 0 is the last index there. So that's the last index starting from the higher one. Then instead of incrementing, I want to decrement. So that's why I'm using minus minus. So after this, I'll have this, right? So now let me create another, because this is a constant, I cannot change it. So let me create another one with let, okay? And this let is going to be reversed fruits. It's going to be an empty array, okay? Going to be an empty array. Now I will now say inside my block, reverse. I mean, I believe you know why I'm using the word let, okay? So reverse fruits. I can still do it this way, but then since we are dealing with array, let's use this method, the push method. And I told us that the push method is used to add an item inside an array, okay? It's used to add an item inside an array. If I didn't, oh, if I'm doing this, then I don't even need let, because you can use the push method on constant. That's even the, but you can use the push method on constant because it's a method of an array. It's not, the constant is not like listening to it as if you're changing the variable. You're just in that array method to handle the values. So let me just show you what push does. If I say fruits dot push, which other fruit is not here? Do I have orange? Okay, let me say, yeah, there's a lot of fruits. Kiwi. Okay, fine. Kiwi. Now there's no kiwi here, but so now if I, after pushing, I just did fruits dot push. We have other method actually. We have other method, push, map, for each, length, join, add, concat, copy between entries. There's a lot of array methods you can explore here, right? But let's use push, which is the one that adds the item. Push, that's push an item inside this array, and that item is going to be, I think watermelon is fine. Now after pushing watermelon, when I now console log fruits, I will see watermelon. Yeah, you can see the array here, apple, banana, orange, mango, pineapple, and then watermelon. Okay, so you can push multiple times. So if you can have another push with kiwi. Now when I check, I'll see with kiwi. So with the push method, you don't need to say set it to let. You can just use the make use of the array method push to add items on that array. So back to our loop. Back to our loop. I'll say for each time, fruits dot push. Oh, this is going to be, no, I think I need to create another one. Now what this will do here, I even did something wrong. What this will do here is it will, let me console log fruits at the end. It will still keep these ones because I'm saying push. it's not going to touch these ones that already exist. It will just keep adding these items again. So once I do this, the result I'm going to get is after pineapple, I will see another pineapple. Then it will continue running it back, mango. So we have extra, just a duplicate of what already exists, but then from, so let's say, yeah, exactly. So we have apple, banana, orange, mango, pineapple. Then we have pineapple again, mango, orange, banana. Yeah. So for me to do that, I think I just need to create a reversed const, reversed fruits, an empty array. So I should be using reverse fruits here. And then I should be listening to fruits too. Then I'll be console logging fruits. So first, I will console log fruits. I'll set this to be fruits. Then this is reversed fruits. So when I check exactly, fruits is apple, banana, orange, mango, pineapple. Then reverse fruits is just reversing the first array. Okay, so yeah, that is the for loop. I would like us to check every other loops, right? It's an assignment. I'll add it to the assignment. Read on these loops, then apply a use case to it. Probably give us a topic to make use of it. Then any question, just let me know. So then let's jump into other array methods that we have. We have array.map. Array method map. All right, so what is the map and what is the use case? So map is just used to return an array. You used to return an array, like to create a new array entirely of the original array. So I'm reading this out from somewhere. Map creates a new array from calling a function for every array element. Map does not execute the function of for empty element, does not change the original array. It doesn't change the original array, it just creates a new array entirely from the original one. So if I have fruits, let me still use this fruits, right? I have fruits, right? And I want to create a new array, but then I want to do something to each item inside this array. I want to, for each item here, for each fruit here, I want to do something to it, right? I use the map method. But then you're going to set it to another variable, another array. Now I can have an array that says new fruits. Okay, new fruits is going to be equals to fruits. Sorry, fruits dot. Yeah, for now we're using the map method. Okay, now this is how to write the map method. First, you have your curved braces. All right, and this takes in the function and then the value. It's a function that accepts an argument. If you remember when we did functions, where's my function here? Yeah, we did a function here that accepts an argument, right? We also wrote it as an arrow function, and these are the arguments. So has a function, it accepts a function that accepts two arguments, right? And those two arguments, so this is the function here. I'm just going to write the function inside. Remember how to write arrow functions, right? Open and close your curved braces. Then after that, you have your equals to, and then greater than, then open and close your curly braces. Don't get this confused. This is just an arrow function. If I remove it, you can see I have map, then open and close. Then inside, I'll write that function. Then bring back the function here. Now, this first function accepts two arguments. The first argument is the item, the particular item. So if it's on item apple, the item is going to be apple. If it's on this one, the item is going to be banana. If it's on this, the item is going to be orange. Likewise, every other ones, right? The same thing with this array. if you are mapping, if it's on the first one, the item is going to be 1. If it's on the second one, 2. If it's on the last one, the item is going to be apple, because apple is the last item here. So that is it. So I will say the first item, the first argument item. Then the second argument, that's comma. The second argument is the index of that particular item. You can say index. You can actually write anything that you want, right? Let me say index. Index, okay. So now by the end of this array, I must return something. That's one thing about using arrays. So after everyone, I want to return something. So let me just return the item. Okay, so after this array, I'm returning the item inside the curly braces. It's still going to give me the same array from the original one. It's still going to give me the same array from the original one. If I console log new fruits. Yeah, exactly. This is new fruits. Just to be sure. New fruits. Okay. Yeah, exactly. You can see new fruits here. It's still the same thing because I wasn't doing anything in particular here. But then I can decide to change this array from here. I can decide to say for each item inside these fruits, do this. Let's say item plus. I can actually use template. I prefer using template with rows. Start with your backtick, then $sign. You have your item. This is still the same thing actually. If I console log, I'll still get the same thing. Apple, banana, orange, mango, pineapple for the new fruits. It's still the same thing, but I'm just using backtick. Now let's say I want to append something to it. I want to append the index. So let me say index. Now this index is exactly what I have here. If I give it another name here, I'm going to change it here. This item is coming from this particular first argument. The index is the second argument. Now, when I check back the new fruit, I should see each of the fruits, but then before each of the fruit, I was going to see the index of that fruit before it. So when I check, I'll see 0 apple, 1 banana, 2 orange, 3 mango, 4 pineapple, right? So yeah, you can actually use this for other methods. So let's say you have an array, you have another array like these persons, right? And these persons has first name Malcolm, last name Reynolds, right? First name, just like that. You have 3 persons, and each of them, they have their own first name and last name, first name and last name, first name and last name. So let me include one more thing. Let me say row. Row is a actor. Let's say row here is also an actor. Then the row here might not be an actor. This might be a director. Okay, I just want to have different rows, but 2 is similar ones. Now I can do the same thing here, right? So in this, if I want to map this again, I'll just say const new person, new persons equals to, I'll call this particular variable here, person dot map, remove this, person dot map, yeah, person dot map, then we have your function, then curly braces, okay? Then your function accepts 2 arguments. Remember, first argument is the item, second argument is the index. Then this space is where I'm going to write my whatever I want to write, the new information, and you are returning, remember. So return, for each item I want to return, let me say I want to return item 2. Nothing will change. Now if I console log new person, I'm going to get the same thing. Yeah, exactly. So I have new persons, open. I still have the same thing, right? Nothing changed because I'm not modifying the item, each of those items. I have this actor, this, that, actor, this, that, okay? So I will, let's say, I want to add another item. Let's say I want to add another item here. How will I do this? So for each of them, I can say, instead of returning just the item, I can say curly braces, open and close curly braces. I'm creating this item, I'm creating this array entirely. Then I want to have just the name. Instead of saying first name and last name, I can just say full name. Probably you want to merge these two names instead of them having it as a separate entity. Full name, your semicolon, okay? So you can do it any way you want. If you want to use concatenation, it's fine. If you want to use template literal, it's fine. So we now have, with template literal, I'm going to have $sign. I'll just finish it up. I have item.firstname. We know why it is dot first name. Now, if I hover on top of this item, I'm going to see that each item has, see this panel that showed up here. Each item have first name, last name, and row. And to access this one, remember when we did object, to access something in an object, use dot to access that particular property. So I now did item.firstname to access the first name property for this particular item. The same thing to access the last item. Now, when I now console log new persons, I will not be getting first name, last name, this, that, okay? I will only get a new array that has only one property, and that property is full name, but it's being generated from this original data. Now, when I check, I still have my new persons. When I open it, you can see I only have one property inside each one. Full name, Malcolm Reynolds. Full name again for the next one, Kylie Fry. I don't know how to pronounce that. Then the third one, Jane Cobb, right? So you can use this mapping method to modify the new approach or the new item that you want to exist, just recreating from the original one. Yeah, you can still include row. You can still include row, right? You can say row, item.row. Nothing changes for row. Row is still there. So when you go back, you see a new property. Full name, Malcolm, then row, actor, full name, row, actor. The other one, row, director. So yes, that's basically, I think this is actually the simple part of using using a map. There are other complex approaches that you can use. All right, so now let's just do one more array method, which is the filter method. We have talked about push, right? We used push in this part. Now let's do the filter method. So the filter method is actually used to just what the name says, filter. You can use it to filter out a particular data from an array, right? If you're using the filter method on array, it means you want to select some particular items. You don't want to select everything. You want to select some particular item that meets a condition. I'm going to read this out from somewhere. The filter method creates a new array filled with elements that pass a test provided by the function. That's the test you provided. And also, filter method does not execute the function for him. Yeah, does not change the original array. Yeah, filter method does not change the original array. Obviously, map also does not change the original array. It just creates its own array and then modify it. So now let's say I'll still work with these persons, right? Let's say I want to have a new constant that says filtered persons equals to, I'm still listening to this array person here. So I'll say person dot, we have a method called filter. You say filter, open and close. So it still does the same, it accepts the same function as map, right? Accept the same function. We have a function called braces. Then open and close your curly braces inside, right? Still the same thing. the first function is actually the first argument from that function is also the item. So you can access the item, you can access the index too. The second argument is the index, but we'll not be needing the index. You will be needing the index depending on what you're trying to work or do with it, right? So now, but this part, right? This part, I am returning something. Yes, I am returning something, but what I'm returning must be a Boolean, right? So I am comparing something. Remember when we talked about comparison? When did we do that again? We talked about comparison, forgotten where we did that. Yeah, these are the comparisons. So I am returning something that is a Boolean. Boolean is true or false. There's nothing else that is part of Boolean, all true or false. And to achieve that, I'm going to be using any of these comparison operands, depending on what I want to achieve, right? So I can get a Boolean. Now I want to listen to the items. Let's say you have a filter and you want to select only for actors. You have a table that have both actors, directors, makeup artists, just the row part, right? Row part is changing. Some rows are actors, some rows are directors, some rows are producers, some rows are every other thing, right? I just want to select a particular set of people. You can use that with the filter array method. So what am I going to do? I'm going to return item dot row, okay? Item dot row, and what do I want to do with that? I want to check for the item that the row is equals to. Remember how to use the equals to triple times, not just once. If you're using one, it means you are reassigning and it's going to give you an error. So we use it triple times for strict, where the arrow is equals to actor. Okay, but let me say, okay, probably I don't want this to be, I want this to be just the actors. I want to filter just the actors. Now, if I console log actors from this person, I'm going to get an array with only the items that the row is actor. That's the first one and the second one. Why not the third one? Because the row is not an actor, the row is director. Now, when I console log actors, you can see I only have 2 items there. Now, let's check the 2 items. You can see first item, row actor, second item, row actor. Just 2 items. It filters just the one that the row is actor. If I want to filter for director, I will just say, instead of actor, I will just say the one that the item dot row is equals to director. Okay, it's going to give me only this one item because that's the one that has director in it, and everything is still set inside an array. Okay, so yeah, that is basically it for filter. We have other ones, and I believe we already checked them out. I mean, this method I just spoke about is one of the things I say we should go and research. So it's more like I am just, reiterating what I believe you already know or researched on. But then, any question? Okay, so let's talk about JavaScript callbacks. Okay, so JavaScript callbacks. We'll be doing that inside a function. So JavaScript callbacks, just what the name callbacks is, right, is a function that is being used by another function. So you have 2 functions, okay, and one of the function is using another function. Now I'll read something out, okay. A callback function is a function passed as an argument to another function. This technique allows a function to call another function, right? A callback function can run after another function has finished. Now there's nothing much to it actually. Probably you wrote a function that another function needs. So you just call that function inside or just invoke that function inside, right? So now let me say I have a function. I will not use the normal function, I'll just use the arrow function. Let's say I have a function that say display display name, or should I say display, sorry, display total. Okay, and this function, remember, set it equals to an arrow function. All right, so this function is display total, and this function is going to accept a total argument, just one argument called total. Meaning, we're talking about JavaScript callbacks. And then inside this function, I want to get a particular element and then assign something to it, right? So let's say I want to get, let's say document.get elements by ID total. Then, yeah, I just want to type it out so you see. So I'm getting total, element that has total with ID, and then I'm setting the inner HTML equals to total. I'm not sure I have any elements that says total, but let me do that real quick. Okay, I want to have this before I have a p tag total. Nope, don't do this. I have a h1. Yeah, h1 is fine. h1 that says total. And inside h1, I have another element span here, total. So, you can write text elements inside another text element. It's fine. This span is a text element. h1 is also a text element. So yeah, I have total, this. Now when I go back, I should see total and then that, right? So where was I writing that? Yeah, my JavaScript fallbacks, yeah. So this is the function that is going to handle displaying this total to the user. But then I want to write another function that does the calculation, yeah? Yeah, this one is going to calculate total. Okay. Now let's say I have constant, yeah, part 1, part, yeah. Let me just say I have something like this. Move this part. Okay. I have another function that's calculating the total of some numbers, part 1, part 2, part 3. This can be anything, right? So I now have another constant, adding everything together, the three of them. So I want to now pass this total down to this display total. So I'll just invoke this function here. Display total is a function that accepts one argument, right? This is display total here. So I'll just pass total down to it. Now what I've just done, this function is now what? A callback. Okay? There's nothing much to it, just that you're calling a function inside another function. Now when I check, will I see the total? No. Why? Because I have not invoked this calculate total. All right? So I need to invoke calculate total down here. Calculate total. I'll just call it out. When I now save, I should see, okay, this didn't work. Why? Oh, I don't have this inside here. I don't have scripts. Yeah, exactly. So comment out this. So this function was not here. So when I check now, I should see the total. Exactly. Now, when I now go back, let's say I want this total again to accept arguments. Probably I don't want it to use this part 1, part 2, part 3, right? I want it to use the argument I'm going to pass down to it. So you can just see arguments passing down from another function down to another function, down to another function. So you can actually have that scenario where you are just nesting down arguments from one function to another. And you can achieve that with callbacks. So instead of part 1, part 2, part 3, I want to accept. Yeah, I can actually say the part 1 here, part 1, comma, part 2, comma, part 3. So this function is accepting 3 arguments. Now here I am adding those 3 arguments, and then I am calling back this function to pass down the total. But then when I'm invoking it, I need to pass down these 3 arguments back. So let me add 10, 20, and 30. When I now go back here, I'll see 60, obviously. Yeah. What if I change it to 50? 100. So yeah, that is how to use callback. I mean, I'm invoking this function here because there is no event that is calling it, right? There's another way I can do this. I can tie this particular function down to a button. Yeah, I'll tie this function down to a button. I'll now listen. Whenever that button is clicked, call this function. Just like this, I'll say document dot get elements by ID dot add event listener, all those things, right? Then I'll listen to not submit, I'll listen to click. Then whenever that event is clicked, instead of now calling this function here, I'll call that function inside of this guy, inside of this event. So whenever contact is clicked, run this, invoke this function here. So when it calls this function will add the total, pass the total down to display total, and then the display total will now cache the total from the argument space, and then do all these get elements by ID inner HTML and set to total. So you can see 3 things just running together to display an information to the user. So yeah, that is that. I'll comment all this. Okay, any question? No question. Okay, so let me check the comment section. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, so we have asynchronous JavaScript. All right. Let me just do that. Okay, I think I will just continue doing it. Yeah. Synchronous JavaScript. All right, so what is asynchronous JavaScript? So functions that run, like they run in parallel, like side by side, right? With other functions, right? If you have 2 functions that run side by side, we call them what? Asynchronous. So I'm reading this out somewhere. Where is that explanation here again? So, okay, yeah, that's actually what it said. Functions running in parallel with other functions are called asynchronous function. So, and a good example of asynchronous function is setTimeout. setTimeout. So what is setTimeout? So when using JavaScript setTimeout function, you can specify a callback function to be executed on time. So with the setTimeout, you can set a function that runs after a particular time. You don't want the function to run immediately, right? You can say, okay, I want this function to run after 5 seconds or after 20 seconds, right? Then run this function, okay? So you can achieve that using setTimeout. Don't worry, JavaScript recognizes this function. So this particular function accepts 2 arguments. It accepts 2 arguments. The first argument is the well, comment out this part. The first argument is the timer handler. This is also a function, right? And then the second argument is the duration. Okay, so you can see setTimeout is a function that carries another function, right? And but setTimeout accepts two arguments. First one is the handler, whatever you want to run when the timeout is done. Okay, and then we now have duration. Okay, duration is the count of how many times you want it to run, and it's going to be in milliseconds. Duration is in milliseconds. And how many milliseconds make 1 second? 1,000 milliseconds is equals to 1 second. Okay, so whatever you're putting here is going to be in milliseconds. So if you want your duration to run for 5 seconds, so you're going to put 5,000 here, because 5,000 milliseconds is equals to 5 seconds, and you are getting that particular evaluation using this method, where 1,000 milliseconds is equals to 1 second. Now let's have this particular function in play. So let's say I have a function, constant timer handler. I mean, you can call this anything actually, right? It's not much that it's going to be timer handler, but I just want to use timer handler so we can know this is just for the timer. So in this timer handler, I want to, let me do the basic console log first. Console log, I am a timer handler. So this is what I want to execute after a particular second. Now to finally achieve this, I'm going to have my set timeout. Okay, now my set timeout accepts what? 2 arguments. The first argument is the function, and the function here is timer handler. You just call the function down, the name of the function, then comma, the duration. How many times do you want this to run? I want it to run for 5,000 seconds. Sorry, I want it to run for 5 seconds. So 5 seconds means 5,000 milliseconds. I won't save this yet. Let me check my console. Clear my console. Is there something I need to remove? Okay, there's no need. Now when I save, just count down to 5 for me in seconds. You will see I am a time handler logged out. So immediately I save this, come down. 5, you see, I am a timer handler. I just logged out now. And see it's executed after 5 seconds. So that is basically how to use the timer. And you can do other things with it. It's not much that you're going to console log. Let's do something else here. Let's do this exactly. This total, I want to just paste it here and say, so I want to shout to the user, I am executed after 5 seconds. Now when I go back, I should see I am executed after 5 seconds here. Exactly. You can see it just displayed after 5 seconds. Can actually increase it. Let's say 10 seconds. 10 seconds is going to be 10,000 milliseconds, right? So you're going to have 10 and then 3 zeros. Then back. I'm executed after, it's supposed to say 10 seconds because I've changed the duration to 10. But then, I mean, you understand it. So, yes. Any question? No question. Cool. So just like we have just like we have set timeout, we also have another callback function, set interval. It's actually asynchronous. Yeah, exactly. It just does the same thing with this, accept the same arguments, the function and the duration. The function and the duration here. Call it anything actually. Function and the duration. But the difference between set timeout and set interval is set timeout runs after a particular time that was provided, right? Like if you say run after 5 seconds, it's going to run after 5 seconds and that's over. But for set interval, it's going to keep running. After like each, if you say 5 seconds, it's going to count to 5 and run that function and count to another 5 again, run that function, count to another 5 again, run that function. And a typical example of a set interval is your clock, right? You can see that the minute changes after 60 seconds, right? So after 60 seconds, you have the minute change from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, something like that. So you can get this particular results with set interval. Now, how are you going to do it? Same thing. You write your function first. But I'm not going to call this function, let's say const. Yeah, let me say interval handler. Can call it anything actually, right? It's not must, it's going to be. Now this interval handler, inside here, yeah, let me listen to this same thing. Document dot get elements by ID total equals to. Now I want this to show that I'm actually doing something. So let me set a constant here. No. Wait, I'm coming. A minute. Let me say number. I think I'll still go back to that date, but let me see if this one works. I'm not sure it will, though. Let me see if it works. So number is going to be after every, just do number plus plus. Remember what plus plus means? Plus plus means like one plus. Sorry, number. I didn't even write it down. Number plus plus. Oh, I doubt this works. Let's see. So I'll say set interval. But then I don't need this part anymore. I don't want it to clash with this. So 1000 means 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. And let's see if this increases after 1 second. Go back. All right. This is 1000, right? Document.get elements by ID equals to. Where is something else setting this thing? No, I don't need this part again. No. So set interval. Wait. Okay, so I think, yeah, I actually have semicolon here. Well, let me do this. Let me use date instead. Date equals to new date, right? Remember the date object that we talked about when we are doing switch case. Okay, so we can get the date object, and then inside this, I am going to have, how will I do this? Let's say I'm going to use backtick here. Okay. Oh, I'm setting a number to this. This accepts string only, but I was setting number earlier. That's why. So I'll put a backtick, and then let's say remember how to use this $. Let's say dates how do I get hours? Yeah, okay, get hours is actually, I don't know if we have explored this date well. There's actually how to get other things. You can get hours, you can get millisecond, you can get minutes, get months, and every other thing. So if you want to get the current hour, you can click on get hours, and the current hour is actually 21. That's 9 o'clock. So get hours. That's all. Let's see. Yeah, exactly 21. This is a 24-hour clock format. Then semicolon, 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 another curly braces. Sorry, dollar sign. I think I will just finish this out. So if you understood what happened here, let me just remove this part so I can give more explanation. So I just want this thing to look like a clock. So the first number is the hour. Then we have this semicolon between. After I'm done writing this first one, then I'll start the second one, dollar sign, curly braces. Then I'm getting minutes. Okay. Then after, what's the next thing in mind? Seconds, right? So you just write it out. Dollar sign, date, get seconds. Then, yeah. So, and I'm running this particular interval after 1 second. Now, when I go, yeah, you can see it is changing 57, 58, 59, exactly. 2, 3. Yeah. So, yes, that's what's happening here. I mean, in your mind, you think that, okay, what if you just call it without using setInterval? Now, see what is happening here. If I just call this without using setInterval, let me say I didn't invoke this without using setInterval. Let me just call this function down here. It will just tell you the time that by the time it was rendering this component, this was the time it is at that time, right? That's what it's just logging out for you. Hour 21 and the 25 minutes at the 28th second, right? Just it's not going to refresh because it's not listening to, like, it's not going to tell you the next second or what the second is currently is here, because it's not listening to any other change after that. But then if you check now, I think we're in the, okay, I was saying the 25th minute, and now we're in the 26th minute. If I go back, it's still telling me 25. Yeah, because there's no other change coming to it. Nothing is triggering it again to re-render to notice what is the current time. But with setInterval, it can make it to always change after 1 second. Now, when I go back with this, yeah, so it's working. So what if I don't want it to change after 1 second, right? You can say after 5 seconds, render. Now you can see, okay, it's not up to 5 seconds, but let's see, yeah. Now, this 34 is going to change to what? 39, right? Exactly. Because it's running after 5 seconds. And after 5 seconds, the second have increased by 5. So 44 will change to 49. 49 will change to 54, right? Yeah, exactly. After 5 seconds, 54 will change to 59. Exactly. So yeah, this is just what the duration does in this part. Okay, so yes. So what else do we have for today? Any question though, before we move past this? No question. All right, so let's talk about React. React. Now, what is React? Before I even talk about React, let me just give us an update what is happening here. So we did DOM already. DOM is document object model, right? DOM means what? Document object model. And your DOM is just like a tree of how a web page is represented. We did that already. You have the document type, which is HTML, as the parent of everything. Then we still have the HTML element, which has 2 children. and we did that already. The two children are the head and the body. And then inside the head, we have other children too. You have many children on the tag. Aside the title, link, and the meta tags, right? Still have other elements that can be written in the header tag just to improve your web page. Mostly in this header tag, that's where you're going to be writing titles, your SEO. SEO means search engine optimization. The SEO is going to be in handy when you are trying to make your product or your web page recognizable on the search bar on Google. Like if you go to your search bar and you type, just say you type your favorite website that you prefer visiting, you see that the first one that come up here, their SEOs are very, very high. Like there's a lot of options on their SEOs, right? That's why sometimes you just type a random word, a website will come up that has something similar to that. So with SEO, you can increase the chances of your web page being viewed or coming at the top on a web search on Google, actually. So that's everything is written on the header tag. You can link to other assets that you have. You have CSS. You can actually write your script tag here too. Remember, you can write your internal styles too, and then the contact, and then the title. So that's for the header. Then your body, that's the main space where the information is. So this is just the DOM. This is what DOM is. Okay, but then there is an issue that this presents. Now, when the first day I had a class here, I told us that you are writing a code, and as a front-end developer, your main target should be your main target should be building a responsive design and also building an application that doesn't always render. Rendering means whenever you interact with a particular part of that page, everything re-renders, right? Just like, and it is going to cost the memory of, that's why at times when you open Chrome, your RAM or the memory space that you have in your computer is almost taken out. So you have to go ahead and be closing some tabs, right? So yeah, but with a well-optimized web page, right? You now have multiple renders. Now, all these things I've been doing here, whenever I click on submit, if I do this, enter that, enter age, enter my message, if I click on submit, everything here renders because I am updating a state here of the table. Now, when I click on this, okay, cool. What? This is not working again. Oh, I commented it out. Yeah, it's in events, if I remember. Where did I write that code again? Yeah, it's events. So bring back events, please. Oh. Message, then submit, exactly. So these things you're doing, it causes a render to this whole page because it's a real DOM, right? So whenever something changes on the website or on the page, it tries to adjust itself so that it's going to present that new change to you, the visitor, or the client that's accessing that platform. But then you want it to just, since the change I made is here, there's no need rendering every other thing. Just re-render this part, this table, and then display the changes to the user. So that's what libraries like React fixed. That will take us to React, okay? So React is actually a library that is a library for web and native user interface. This just makes development easier, right? And this React.js, we call it React.js, React.js, that's React JavaScript. It gives you a visual DOM. Instead of using the real DOM, it gives you a visual DOM. Now, what is the visual DOM? The visual DOM is like a memory of the real DOM. It has a memory of the real DOM, but whenever something changes, it doesn't like change or render all the whole document. You just go to that particular node. When I mean node, I mean that element that has that change and then effect that particular change. Let's say you change something from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3. Instead of rendering every other thing, just go to that particular node that is receiving that particular value that I'm changing and change it alone. So that's what React fixes. We have a lot of libraries, right? We have Vue.js. We have Vue.js. Is all these things are written on top of JavaScript. We have Angular. Okay. We also have Angular. It's also a JavaScript library written on top of JavaScript. It's a JavaScript library, obviously. So yeah, we have a lot, not only Vue.js, Angular, and React. There's a lot of them, right? So when you get further in your front-end career, you can still decide to go with Vue. You can still decide to go with Angular. You can still decide to go with any other library built on JavaScript that is out there, right? But why React is more recognized is because of the community. Every other library here has its own community, right? But for some reason, React have this wider community. The community in React is at the point where if you have any issue, you can easily get someone that will, like, the community is broad and there is a lot of people contributing to make this particular library effective on the long run. There's just updates happening every day, right? So there's just a lot of things to talk about when you're mentioning React. So with this React, we don't need to write our contact HTML. Let's say we are building a web page. You have about.html. You have privacy and policy.html. You have that.html and every other thing, right? Every other page is on your web page. React will just use only one HTML file and then render everything on that HTML file. So it's only using one HTML file, just creating different layouts depending on whichever page you are calling for. But when we continue using it, you see how that works, right? So yes, so that is that. And if you want to set it up, just go to not learn. Here's the setup part itself. Okay, quick start. Just go to installations. Take your time, still read. So the good thing that it might look when you start, it might look overwhelming, but is a necessity is reading documentations. So when you progress, you see yourself using other packages out there, right? Packages are just like calendar, using some drop down packages or anything. Probably you don't want to create your own drop down. You want to use a drop down that already exists on the web, right? You just install it and then work with it. So any package you are using, you have to read the documentation very well, see how that particular package is used, and then apply it. Because this library and packages that come with it, there is always a change. Like if not every month, there's always a change. Now, React is also not in this React documentation. There's a place that says it should not, React is deprecated. Yeah, read this part. Creating a React app. If you want to start a new React app, I don't know if you can see this. If you want to start a new React app, you can create a React app using a recommended framework. So when you click on this create React app, you see if you want to be a blah blah blah, you recommend starting with a framework if your app has constrained not well. Yeah, so you can either use there is frameworks built on top of React. Again, it's kind of broad, but don't worry, get hang of it. There are frameworks built on top of React. We have Node.js. We actually have Vite. Where are all those frameworks? we have Next.js, we have Vite, we have this React Router is used with, we have Expo for building mobile apps, right? So with React self, there is extension, there is a React Native part. In case if you want to then finally migrate to mobile apps, me, I do both web and mobile, right? So I use React for web and then React Native for the mobile. That's building mobile app, not mobile responsiveness, no, mobile applications. So you can use React Native for that. So there's just a lot of broad things to know here. There's a part I'm looking for that they said it is deprecated. Give me a minute, let me see if I can. Okay, creating a React app. Now, let me check. We have Parcel, we have RS Build. These are all frameworks built on top of React. So you can use any one of your choice. Okay, quick starts. All right, so when I find what I'm looking for, I'll just share it later. So with this React, you're not creating your elements inside the HTML file. You're just writing all your elements on the JavaScript. That's where you talk about JSX, right? HTML in JavaScript. If you can look in between this guy, you're going to see a function. This function here, the function is square. It accepts an argument, an object argument, value and on square click here. And then you can see it has return button. Button is an element, obviously. It's an HTML element. But with JSX, it gives you the room to write HTML inside a JavaScript. You know, you cannot just walk up and write a HTML inside any JavaScript file. Like even if I say const form equals to, I can't even do this. It's going to cry out. We didn't. Actually, I am looking at this from the point of React, sorry. But then, yeah, this particular thing here is no more just a bare HTML. This is now XML because you're writing HTML is an extensible markup language. XML means extensible markup language. It just give you a room to write HTML elements outside of HTML, right? HTML file. This is not HTML file, this is JS file, JavaScript file. But with XML, that room, it gives you a room to write those HTML elements outside of HTML file. So that is what JSX means. JSX means JavaScript XML. That X means XML or extension or extensible. And the JS is JavaScript. So yeah, I just wanted to like brush this up, but then we are going to start setting it up in the next class, right? But I just wanted to like let us know that this is what we're going to be using, and yeah, going forward, we're going to be building an app with React, also consuming API, working with APIs and everything, right? And then, yeah, just basically, building a full-blown applications. Because on the next stage of this program, we are going to be working with other departments, a designer. So, and by this point, before moving to that next stage, if you cannot build a just one-page application, right, you might find it difficult navigating. So it's better we have that skill in hand before moving forward. So yes, that is it. But before we even start doing anything in React, there is something we need to have on our system. First, I told us about GitHub. I don't know how many of us that have gone ahead to install GitHub on our systems, right? If you haven't, please do. If you're having any issue, let me know, okay? Like, just reach out to me. And then, aside reaching out to me, you can actually, like, search online, right? How to use GitHub, how to install GitHub. GitHub is very broad. Like, every of these areas that we have done is very broad. There is a very broad implementations that goes with it. GitHub is about commands, right? Git and GitHub. Git is about commands. GitHub is mostly the platform where you're going to be hosting your code base, right? And you need Git to communicate with your GitHub. And I did that post already in the last 3 classes. So go rewatch that video if you haven't. If you're having an issue, reach out to me, or you can actually watch out YouTube videos. Just go to YouTube, type anything at all that you want to figure out, right? Don't get distracted with every other video. Just focus on why you are here on that particular YouTube channel, just to check how to use Git. Then, just explore, please explore. So we have a Node. There's something we call Node.js, right? So Node.js is let me just read what it is: an open source cross-platform JavaScript frontend environment that lets developers create servers, web apps, right? Command line tools and scripts. So before Node.js came out, you cannot write JavaScript outside of the client side. That client side is what the browser launches to the user, right? So you cannot write JavaScript outside of the client side. But because of Node, you cannot write JavaScript outside of the web or browser safe. Like if you're trying to write JavaScript every other place, like on the server or the backend or the database, it cannot. But Node made it possible. So you can write JavaScript everywhere. So those that are learning backend, they are going deep dive. They are going to dive deep on how to use Node. But you as a front-end developer, you don't really necessarily need to know how to write Node, but you need to have this particular package, that's the Node, this Node installed on your system, because that's what your React is going to be running on top. On React depends on Node to run, right? So because it creates a server. So to do that, if you're on Windows, just go to nodejs.org or just type Node.js on your browser, install it. Then go ahead, download Node for Windows users, right? Then if you are on MacBook, there is another way to do it on MacBook. So on MacBook, just use Brew to install it, right? So just click on Brew. Just make sure it's LTS is supported. This LTS means long-time support. So make sure it is LTS, not the current one. Just choose LTS, the current LTS, then macOS using Brew for Mac users, MacBook users. And then, yeah, just choose NPM. So go ahead, run these commands one by one. Run the first command, run the second command, then do this node v. This node does v just to check if it was successfully installed. You can actually do it here. On your terminal, everything is on your terminal. Node dash v. So when you do node dash v, you're going to see the version of the node installed on your system. If you did not get any version response, it means there was an issue installing. So go back again and try to install it afresh. And yeah, I promised us I'm going to be doing a front-end mentor. I'm going to be doing some front-end mentor, but my battery will not allow this. And I mean, I even need more time to do it, so I may not be able to cover it with the less minutes remaining. So again, in the next class, just come on time, please. If possible, come by 7:55, no problem. I might even start early before recording starts. So I want to like show us how to approach a design and how to just have a picture of what you're going, like you're looking at. Let me go to front-end mentor. You're looking at a design. Let me just, how can I filter here again? There's a way to filter, right? So you're looking at a design. Let's say I'm looking at this. All right, so this is the design, right? What's this? I need something that is very clear. All right, I hope this is clear enough. The design, yeah, you're going to see that the background is yellow, right? So you're going to give the body yellow. Then the every other content is in the middle. So first of all, create a div, just put anything inside the div and find a way to center that div in the middle of the page. You can do that with flex items, right? Just display flex, justify content center, align item center. So that's the first part. Just make sure that this is centered in the middle. You don't need to use padding, margin, or anything to center this, no, because there is no other content here. It just center in the middle. So just use that flex box to center it in the middle. And then inside here, Let me zoom in. Now, the more I'm zooming, the more it's going smaller. So inside here, you will see that we have an image here. So you have first, you're going to have two div, right? This is the main div. The main div is the one wrapping everything, right? And this div is background color of white, right? So inside this div, you're going to have two div. One div is the first one. That's the one that is going to contain the image. The next div is going to contain the content, right? The content this learning, publish, HTML, this, that, and that. So that's just the two things you need to have. So the first one, just put your image there. Second one, then you have this. Then to do this is simple. Just have a p tag, set the color to black, then the background color should be orange, right? And then after this one, have another p tag that says publish 21, this, that. Then this is going to be H1, right? Because it's bold. You can call it H2, or you can even go ahead and call it a p tag, or just make it increase the font size and increase the font weight. The font weight is what makes it bold, or medium, or thin, or bolder, or anything, or semi-bold, right? That's using the font weight CSS property. Then after that, you're going to have your description part, still a p tag. Write your p tag, then put this. Then this part, how to write this part, these two things are going to be inside a div. So at this part again, you're going to have a div that contains two items. Inside that item, you're going to have an image and then Greg Hooper, right? Then to do this, to make it look like this, you're going to use display flex. Then just to display this, because if you just use p tags, the image is going to be here, then the text is going to be under it. Then put a display flex. Then align item center so that this, because if you just say display flex, this Greg Hooper is not going to be in the middle, it's going to be somewhere up here, right? So it's align item center, it's going to align in the center. And then you start applying your colors. So achieve this thing here, you can see that there's a black stuff here. To achieve it, you're going to use shadow. I'm not sure I talked about that, right? Well, if I had the time to do this, I'm going to brush up about that shadow, how to use shadow, but just check it out too, how to apply shadow, and then play around and see how to achieve this. So that's just it by me looking at this. So this is how to approach a design. Like when you see it, you should have a picture of how you're going to structure the elements inside that web page. Where is this one going to be? Where is this one going to be? If you don't have that picture of how you want it to be, when you jump into coding, you just see yourself writing and deleting and updating, and you don't have any plan. You're just writing, oh, you hope, okay, I think this will work here. I think, no, you don't. You just have to have a picture of everything. Then once you have that image in your head, you can just go ahead and start effecting everything out. So this for this. Then I think there's another one. Yeah, this one. Now, if you look at this, which one should I use? Yeah, this one. If you look at this one, this was achieved with grid. In fact, I would even like to do this one because there's expensive grid, the use of grid here. The way you can achieve this is grid. You can actually do it another way without grid, right? But grid will give you the best results. So you're just going to, if you don't want to use grid, you can just, this is if you don't want to use grid, you can just go ahead. You're going to have, first of all, give your background color, then have two divs, right? Then the first div is going to wrap this whole, because this one is taking up and down of this, so it needs to be like side by side, right? This is without grid. I'll still talk about it with grid. We're going to have all these four contents inside one grid, then inside one div, then this one on its own div. Then I'm going to use a display flex outside to make them position left and right. Then you might give this one width 80%, then give this one width 20%, because this one has more width than this. Then with this, you just give this one, you don't even need to give this one height, it will work. Like just put your contents here. Then with this, you're going to say, you have another div inside this one again. This is already a div. From here, how can I draw a line? God, I need to draw a line. I hope I can draw a line on this. Probably I'll just find a tool to draw. This whole 4 squares is one div. Then inside this one, I'm going to have 2 divs again. The first div is going to wrap this and wrap this one. Then the one that is wrapping this, give it width also. This one, give it width of 80%. Then this one, width of 20%. If I just play around with the width, with percentage actually, not with actual values, because you don't know the particular screen the user is going to be viewing it from. Use percentage to program it. You get what you think this is the best picture or how it should look like. Do the same thing here. Wrap this one, give it width, 20%, width, 80%. Then, then put your content. Putting the content shouldn't be a big deal if you understand. This one shouldn't be a big deal if you understand flex. With grid, all these things, wrap it in one div. Just set it to grid, right? And how many columns do you need? How many columns do you have here? You have 1. You have another one. Let's use this one, for example. From here to here is 1. From here to here is another one. From here to here is another 1 column. From here to here is another 1 column. So how many columns do you need here? You need 1, 2, 3, 4. You need 4 columns, right? 4 columns so that you can position this one longer than the other. So 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have multiple columns, but then you definitely know how many columns you are going to have extra, more than 4. That you don't find a way to like compromise. But then for a start, you need 4 columns. Then this one, you're going to give it, take column 1. Yeah, column placement. I didn't talk about that actually. So this one, take column 1. From column 1, this is 1, this is 2. So it's going to take 2 columns. This first one is going to take 2 columns. This second one here, let it take only 1 column because it's just from here to here. Then this one also 1 column, but this one is going to take 2 rows because it is here and down, this particular one. So it's going to take row 1, row 2. I will do this actually in the next class. So be there, be very early because I might start very early. Then this one too, let it take 1 column, then this one 2 columns. And what I'm saying, my sound off puts here, because we didn't go deep in using grid, but with grid you can achieve a layout like this with grid. And when you test yourself with some complex designs like this, you just see yourself getting familiar with some other things that we didn't talk about in the class. To do something like this too, if you can do this, then if you can do something like this, you are good for an employment, because I mean this is mostly what most of the online shopping website look like. All right. So with this, you can achieve this add to cart here with absolute positioning. Then just position every other thing. I might end up working on 2 designs in the next class. So yeah, so that's just basically it, right? I hope I was able to do this, but I'll be doing it in the next class. And if you have any question, this is the time to ask before we call it a day. Elijah, what is bento grid? I haven't heard of that before. Bento grid. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's actually a design system, bento grids. Wow. Well, this bento grid is like Behance and Dribble now, right? It looks like it's just showing you designs. Elijah, right? Is Elijah still here? Elijah, oh. Yeah, I mean, you can check out Bento Grids actually. It looks like a good platform. It have a lot of platform that will challenge you on how to use grids. No, not just the one I explained, but I think the Bento Grid serves well. Let me even open it here. most of their designs are grid related designs, so you can actually check them out and play around using grid on them. This is cool. You can use grid to achieve something like this. This is neat. So please challenge yourself, right? And we have Dribble. Not only front-end mentor, we have Dribble. Dribble is where designers post their work. So you can actually come here, pick any design of choice, and then test out yourself. Look at this design. This is very, very neat. So if you can get something like this up, even if you need my help, if you need a session with me, you can jump on a call and then probably find a convenient time and then show you how to design something like this. I like this. Let me copy this design and paste on the channel. So if there is no other question, I think I'll hand over to Alex.
Okay, thank you.
So the attendance are taken automatically. So time in the call, attendance will be collected. So there's no need. The link is no more being used. So as far as you attended the call, your attendance have been marked. And Miriam, you said you had a question earlier. Well, I think Alex should just take us off and then let's call it a day.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. John, for this amazing session. I hope you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. So, thank you, Mr. John, for this session. Actually, let's this grid last year. Well, I would say I've continued to work for the past months, but I've not really done something that is world class yet. So let's see how it goes with this new site. So thank you for these insights, and this will be the end of today's session. And see you guys on Monday. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Miriam, let's talk about offsite client side later, right? I mean, that's also a topic that you can explore at your leisure time.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone.